So today I want to talk to you about the other side of the vaccine argument. The fact is I have been vaccinated, and many people are not willing to take the vaccine, and it is not because these people are really misguided as some people may want to make you believe. But there is a reason why this thing is happening. Over the years, over many years, there have been some prominent and wealthy people in the world who have spoken openly against the population of the earth, citing and saying that the world is overpopulated. And one of the people that come to mind, or one of the people that people tend to point fingers at regarding that school of thought, is Bill Gates. And we have heard him publicly using the media to talk about those things. But the thing is, Bill Gates is not the only person who over the years have been speaking frankly and openly concerning depopulating the earth, or depopulating or complaining about the population of certain countries. There's a guy from France who's the president over there, a very disgusting guy named Macron. And it is there, you can probably go and check it out yourself. This guy was giving a speech one time, or he probably have done it many times, where the guy was saying boldly, unequivocally, that African women have too many children or make too many children. That is his argument. Now hear this, people. This is a guy who lives in France. You live in France. What business, of what relevance is that to you, that the African women are making children? The people are doing their thing. They know what they're doing. That is part of the people culture. That is part of their pride, to have multiple children. And the president of France should not be talking to African women concerning having too many children. He should be looking into his own affairs in France, where France has an aging and a very old population, and there are not enough young people in France. So the concern is that in France there will not be enough people to work to pay social security to all of these old retirees. There are a lot of old people in France and other parts of Europe. So instead of the president of France taking his time to think about those things, the man's biggest plan and the man's biggest desire is to want to counsel African women about the fact that he believes they're making too many children. You live in France, run France. In fact, this guy, Macron, if he had any sense, this guy would be encouraging and even paying women in France to have children. But his preoccupation is with Africa. There is something about Africa that these people are just jealous of. They're jealous of these women. They're jealous of the people in Africa. What is it, guys? Some of the people live in under very bad situations in Africa. The people are, a lot of them are poor. But yet you all are jealous of these people in Africa. Leave these African women alone. So we had the president of France publicly saying that these people have too many children over there. Now the bad thing about it is, imagine a guy is saying that your population is too high, but yet you buy food from these people. You're not supposed to be buying food from them kind of people. These people have been complaining for years that the population of especially black people is too high, but yet they insist on buying food from those people. So the people are hearing these guys, Bill Gates, Macron, complain about population, and they have different institutions, non-governmental organization that they sponsor, and different questionable organizations and societies and research that they fund, that cause people to be very, very much suspicious of these guys. Let's just look at this situation. Another example again. We had a situation maybe early last year or the year before, where there were two French doctors, two doctors from France. These guys were talking as if their actions, their wicked and diabolical actions, it is just almost like we talking about drinking a glass of water or going and watch football. There's one of them, his name was Jean-Paul Mira, one of the doctors. And he's telling the other doctor, let's try our vaccines in Africa. Let's test our vaccines in Africa, where they have no mask, they have no treatment, and no resuscitation. Let's try our things there. He said that the same goes for some of our AIDS studies. And the other doctor, his name is Camille Locht. He's a research director at some institute. And he was saying, yeah man, let's do that. We can do parallel research, parallel studies together. Let's go ahead and do them thing. People are hearing about those things. And even before people like Bill Gates, even before this thing, there are other rich guys who have been talking about those things. There's a guy named John D. Rockefeller. He was one of these wealthy, one of these ultra wealthy guys in America. And I was watching an old video of him, that was many years ago, where he was talking to his compadres, his Kabbalah people, where he was telling them and talking about the same concept of the population. And these are rich and wealthy fellas who do those things. And so we need to understand, our leaders need to understand in the Caribbean that people know those things. People are hearing those things. You understand? Now the other thing is, there have been some research facilities like around maybe many years ago, because I always listen to, I always watch news, read news, and keep my eyes on certain things. There were certain, I was reading about certain, there was a lab, a major lab, I forgot the name, but it's a major research facility for biological weapons and things like that. It is either in Arizona in America or New Mexico, where they were saying that some vials containing some real potent warfare material walked out of the lab, walked out, and people were very concerned. And you never hear about those things after that time. But these are things I used to always watch. It's like, anything scientific, the news come out, I would watch, I would read about those things. And the thing is, people are aware of those things. And some of our leaders need to understand that the mentality and the ideas that people have concerning some of those things right now, it is not new. And it is made worse these days because of the availability of information in real time. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, information is there in real time. And so these are the things that we need to consider. Now, all of these things are happening, people. And we need to bear those things in mind against the backdrop of the Tuskegee experiment. I forgot what year it was, maybe 1960 something, in a place called Tuskegee in Alabama. There were some experiments that their own government, their own health people conducted on black people in America that were infected with syphilis. They told them that they were going to treat them, and they never treated them. People died in that thing. You understand? People died in that thing, that experiment vibe that was going on. And people are aware of those things and other things that has been done. So when you add all of those things, these public statements that people talking about concerning depopulating the earth, and their main focus seem to be black people. And when you hear about the experiments that has been done, people will be very skeptical, and there's a lot of bad information that is passing around the place. But the fact is, some of those things are true. You understand? And the fact is, I think it is very prudent that our governments, the Caribbean government, address the concerns of the people. Because you see, the way that they're trying to do it, it is not making any sense. In every other aspect of life, people want to discuss things. They will have town hall meetings. They will have discussions, even on radio and different things. But concerning that particular situation, if that virus, it seems as if all logic, all reasoning, the idea of we coming together to discuss something does not apply for this thing. And I think if we want to kind of sensitize and encourage people in the Caribbean and other places to get on board with the vaccination vibe, it is very important that we face and we address some of the tough questions. People have genuine concerns, and these concerns are not being addressed. You will hear people talking, but they are not addressing the concerns that the people have concerning those things. It is so bad right now. It is so bad. I'm telling you, it is so bad that we're in a situation right now where people in St. Lucia, I notice that people prefer to listen to scientists Bolawi concerning that virus situation, as opposed to listening to our own medical doctors. That's how bad it is. That people will give more credence to the views and the thoughts of scientists Bolawi as opposed to our own trained medical doctors in the country. The thing is, over the years, the people who have been representing the Caribbean regions and even Africa, they have not represented the interests of the people properly. And that is what we see in there. The idea that people do not really want to be vaccinated, it is basically, in my opinion, an offshoot of bad representation by these governments. Because whilst all of these things were going on, you hearing Bill Gates and them talking this trash. President Macron coming and talk about this foolishness about African women making too many children and all of those foolishness that he talks about, not watching his own business, that in France they have a serious problem there. We, as Caribbean people, we have opportunity. We represent our own people right now. There's the United Nations, where they could have brought up some of those concerns years ago. They could have brought up some of these concerns at the level of the United Nations, even at the level of CARICOM, at the African Union. These things could have been brought about, discussed. But these people never, because that shows you that they are not really truly interested in representing the interests of the people. So right now, this thing is affecting affecting the place because they, when they were supposed to represent the interest of the people, to get those people to say exactly what they mean by what they were saying, these threats that they were making to depopulate people's countries, our leaders never confronted them, even when they had the platforms at the United Nations. So right now, the Caribbean is paying for that. The fact that we did not handle these problems when we were supposed to. And in the Caribbean, it is a shame. It is a shame that at this point, Cuba is basically the only country that was able to produce their own vaccines in the Caribbean. In this Caribbean, we depend too much on foreign countries, Americans, France, and those people to supply us with food and medicine and vaccines, even in 2021. The same people who live in these countries, like France, these doctors that were talking about this parallel experiment that they want to conduct in Africa. All this, and even the Rockefeller man is from America. Bill Gates is from America. Imagine these guys talking about depopulating our countries, and yet we import so much of our food from them, so much of our medication from them. We talk all that talk and we cannot produce our own vaccines. Why is it that we cannot produce our own vaccines? There is a reason. You see what happened in the Caribbean. In a lot of these Caribbean countries, the leaders that the guys who have emerged as leaders, these guys are very intimidated by smart people. So the brilliant minds that we have produced in the Caribbean, a lot of them go to America and England and those places, or even when they go to school, they stay because our countries are not inviting to them. In fact, when some of these people return to their country to serve, they are frustrated. They are being deliberately frustrated by our leaders because those guys come with ideas that are outside of the box. The ideas that they come with, some of them are very progressive ideas. And instead of our leaders trying to work with them or trying to see what they're talking about, they try to put obstacles in their way, try to block their progress, try to frustrate them. And so what we have is a situation where our top scientists, our top engineers, some of them are not in the Caribbean. They are in America, England, and those places. Now, there is a guy named Vladimir Putin. He is the president of Russia. Vladimir Putin is a guy that I have been following for many years. He's a guy I really admire, Vladimir Putin. This is a guy I respect among all the leaders of the world. The guy that I respect the most is Vladimir Putin. One of the things Vladimir Putin did, Vladimir Putin has a plan. There's a big plan that Russia has, and which I do not know, but I have my suspicions. What Vladimir Putin did was, Vladimir Putin said, okay, you know what, I have my scientists, our Russian guys working in them universities in England and America and in other institutions. He put money aside, millions, billions of dollars, for these guys to come back to Russia and do research that will benefit Russia. Right, that's what he did. He brought back the Russian scientists from England, from America, and those places. And some of these guys were talking, and they saying how they're so happy to be working in Russia. And he took care, and he took good care of them. But what happened in the Caribbean? These guys see our smart people as a threat, and what they will do, they will try to prevent you from eating. They prevent you from getting a job. They frustrate you. That's what these jokers do. So what happened is, at the end of the day, if a man feel like he cannot eat and he can't survive in the Caribbean, what he do is he may live if he does not have the financial strength to stay. Now, there are some people, their family have the financial strength to really, give them a start in business or something, and they will stay. But a lot of people do not have that financial backup to do it. So our Caribbean leaders is one of the problems that we have. And all of these things that we happen in there is a spill off from the same thing. They fight their own people. And even while we are at it, It is very shameful, another very shameful situation again, that after all of these years, a lot of these Caribbean leaders, what they do is they just waste time. Some of these guys literally plunder the country. And they give the people the worst health care that you can find anywhere. But for themselves, they want the best. I saw a situation the last time. That thing just, I was taken aback by it. Ralph Gonsalves was in a thing where, concerning that same vaccination thing, and somebody hit him in his head with a stone or something. But Ralph Gonsalves did not stay in St. Vincent for treatment. He went all the way to Barbados. The two things I can think about, is it that he does not trust his own medical people, or could it be that he knows that the level of treatment that he would like, he does not have it in his own country? Ralph, do you have neurosurgeons in St. Vincent? Or is it that you have but you do not trust them? What's the situation? But what happened is, the man had a little bus head and he went all the way to Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Barbados. But you'll have a 19-year-old boy, 20-year-old boy riding his motorcycle, hitting his head, damaging his brain. And sometimes what happened? He has to stay sometimes unconscious for days, because probably they do not have the kind of equipment that they need to really treat them. So the poor person's child have to stay there. In some of the, I'm not specifically referring to St. Vincent in that case, but in some of the Caribbean islands, the poor people children have to stay there unconscious for days while they try to figure out what to do. But when a man get a little stone lash, he has the opportunity to run overseas. But you're representing a country, some of those guys representing a country for 20 years. And at the end of your stance, your stay, you do not have proper, like not even sometimes bed sheets you have at your hospital. So I'm telling you, we have this problem where in the Caribbean, a lot of people are not taking this the vaccine, and you cannot entirely blame the people. There is a lot of neglect that has taken place, bad representation on the part of our leaders that is causing that to happen, and you want to blame those people. When all these big guys were talking this trash about depopulating the people and all of those things, you all have access to the United Nations. You all never went and addressed those things at the United Nations. What we have is a situation where certain guys will come and boast in St. Lucia how our party man went to spoke at the United Nations. Our party man spoke at the United Nations. We want important things. These are the things that you should address at the United Nations. So these are some of the reasons why we have problems in getting the people vaccinated. That is some of our leaders are responsible for that. So what we need to do right now, we need to address these tough questions. Unless we can do those things, you will have problems. You see that thing that some of them want to do? Like they want to say that if the people are not vaccinated, they're kicking them out of the public service. Boy, you'll try that and you will see what will happen in some of these places. Because when I analyze the situation, some people will not give up. And it will be very bad, I'm telling you. It will be very bad. It will be very bad. So let's not do that. What happened is, in other things that we want to come with, I remember when you were growing up, any big thing that's supposed to come in, like NAFTA or anything like that, there will be debate in schools. You will be having radio talk. People will talk on radio discussing those things. But when it comes to that matter, people don't want to hear no debate. They just want to say, okay, you have to do it. You cannot force big people to do things. You have to tell people. You have to reason out with people. And I find that the reasoning out is not being done. I was very happy when Dr. King in St. Lucia, he was on Andre Paul's show, and he came and he tried to explain why people should take the vaccine. There is another doctor, I think her name is Dr. Dustang. She played her part. You understand? She played her part. And so that is how it's supposed to be. Reason out with the people. But do not just think that people will just, grown men and women will just come and just do these things against the backdrop of all of these things that they heard and against all of the propaganda that is going on. Man, you know the amount of information, negative information that is out there. So we have to find a way to present a good argument to the people. I think I was happy with what Dr. King did. Dr. Dustang, I think is her name. And I think they need to continue doing that. And I think different parts of the society need to continue doing that. Have whole discussions on that, because there's a lot of negative things that is going on. But I think that the people that have the understanding of how these things work should talk to the public and have dialogue concerning those matters. You understand? Even have the children in the school children talk about it, debate about it. But do not just assume that just because you say do it, people will do it. Again, I'm saying that we missed up on opportunities to give proper representation to our people at the higher level that would have addressed some of those guys that were making those threats. And I hope in the future that we have a different approach, a different mentality as it relates to those things as things unfold. And in light of all of that, we as independent people, we cannot be depending on other people to feed us and produce vaccines for us and things like that. The other thing is we need to get into our herbal remedies, because we have proven that some of those things work. But some of these things need to be taken to a higher level in terms of properly researching those things and check the effect of those things on even the different organs. Check on getting the right dosage to the tea, try to get those things crystallized where we can use more of our local things. Because you can never know. There may be a plague and the solution to the plague may just be some of our local plants. And I find that we have moved away from our local stuff and we're depending totally on pharmaceuticals. Is not, and I have no problems with pharmaceuticals, but it may be that the answer or the solution to a plague may not be in pharmaceutical. It may be in our own herbal stuff. So I'm just saying that we need to use a different approach. We need to use a different approach.